welcome to another One Piece manga review. This is chapter 1136. I'm one of your hosts, Mr. Lindbergh, joined by other host, Mr. Versen the Vassal, aka Joshua Trosclair. Versen, we called it, man. I know people are like, y'all gotta talk about the chapter, but for me, look, fucking the cover story, brother. The cover story is where it's at. Seeing the who's who thing, that tells me he's the big bad boss behind everything that we were talking about.
He thinks he's him. He's not right, though.
But it makes sense when you think of the fact that he knows about Nika. It seems like now in this end game, it's like people who know about him. But we'll talk about that. How are you doing, sir, this week? As people know, it's the snow apocalypse around the South. So not just Louisiana, but all around the South.
Yeah, everybody's getting it, I always see on Twitter people being like, it's snowing and we got to look out for the snow bunnies. But, I'm just like, I don't know, man. It's only just started snowing recently. So it's just Twitter's been talking about these snow bunnies for weeks. It's glad to finally be part of the conversation,
but by some people's estimation, some people could say I've already been in the conversation.
Yeah, some people have said that you've been experiencing blizzard conditions for a while now.
Yeah. And Dr. Umar wants to give me 5,000 lashes to cover that, but that's a conversation for another day. That was great. All right.
Don't worry, Lynn, I'll hide you. It's okay.
Appreciate you. But for those that are new, we go through the way we do the chapter reviews. I give a brief summary of the chapter, and then Versen and I deep dive, theorize, and talk about the whole thing. Chapter starts off, like I said, with the cover story where we see I think it's Hold'em, whatever the guy with the lion on his stomach, Hold'em bring Yamato and Tama and Speed to his boss, which we see is this who's who type looking base. Now we'll talk about it. And then after we go into the chapter, we see Luffy eating some moose, talking to the big giant King Jarl, or like the giant warrior, because he's not the king, he's just like the old man leader, talking to him. He's explaining the sun god and whatnot, and how important all of that is, and how every time the world's going through this apocalyptic event, that the sun god is there. He's either a destroyer, he's a laughter, he's a liberator, because Elbaf has this book known as the Harley, aka the Bible, where they have multiple translations of it that people don't necessarily know what he is, but every time he appears, the world undergoes a great transformation. And Luffy's like, that's why they say I look like this guy, but I don't have shit to do with that. I'm trying to eat this meat. And they're like, damn, Luffy, don't ruin the fun, bro. And then so he asks him about Loki, and then they go in on Loki's backstory, which we'll cover. But Loki was born, or shortly after he killed the family horse. That was the same year that Lyn killed the chief Yorul. So that's very interesting that Lyn and Loki were causing trouble. At the same time, we learn about his pranks, and we learn about him killing the king. And basically, Luffy's like, I don't know how I feel about this. This guy knows Shanks and told me he would find him. I'm going to be back later. And Zoro's like, hold on, bro. I don't know if we could trust this dude. And Nami's like, that's where you've been going. Yeah, we gonna all go there, and we're going to see if he's telling the truth. And we're going to have Frodo bring us, because we don't know how to get around. And Luffy's like, all right, whatever, I'll take y'all with me. And then we cut to Loki. Loki's chained up down there, and we see the two Holy Knights walking up to him, one being Gunko, which is the lady. We still don't know who Banks is. Banks has not revealed himself to anyone yet. But basically, they ask him to join the Holy Knights, and Loki says, hell no. His wolves try to come help him. Basically, Gunko strangles the wolf, and Loki's like, sorry, brother, you sealed your fate, but die in peace. And then, pow, Gunko killed him. Loki was like, I'll bring this world to its knees, or I'll bring this world to ruin. That's the official translation. But yeah, Versen, where do you want to begin?
I think we take it from the top. I do think we can, embellish a little bit on the cover story.
It's not necessarily. I thought about this when I said it. It's not necessarily, because I remember every whatchamacallit had a base. Every one of the people, like I forget their name. Yeah, every one of the Toby Roppo had their own base, and I realized that after. It's not necessarily that this is who's who. This could just be his base, but I don't know, man. It's very interesting.
I don't know. I feel like it's very possible that if it wasn't who's who somewhere in there, they would have already dismantled that shit, because I don't think they respected who's who or any of them.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Also, like, I don't know, like, Who makes sense. Like other people have stated, he's the one who knows Nika. That makes sense. He's also the one. I mean, none of them would have a good time if they're captured by the government. Husu was always the one who 100% for sure could not be captured by the government.
And if we being honest, the way that he knows like the CP0 stuff, him being the former Rob Lucci, I'm sure he always had an escape plan or had like some contingency because this dude has escaped from jails, have escaped from the government. I don't think he just fully trusted Kaido 100%.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely didn't really care about being a kind of subordinate. He just cared about his own personal power, which is why he wanted to try and take that third slot.
Facts.
But yeah, I'm really excited. I think this is gonna like this is the kind of feeling I've had ever since we saw that the sword got stolen. I think this is gonna go from Wano being kind of like the sort of like feudalish Japan kind of to almost like we're gonna see a little bit more of like a mid-century action where we're gonna have like a samurai versus like, gun wielding people. We're gonna maybe get more a little bit into like the Japanese mafia with like some Yakuza type vibes or whatever, which makes me kind of wonder if what's his name is still going to be there. The guy Frankie fought because he was a Yakuza boss type.
Oh, Sakazuki. I mean, or
Yeah,
Sasaki, not Sakazuki.
because we've all been wondering what's happened with the remnants of Kaido's forces or whatever. I don't think the majority of them are under Husu or whoever's in that tower, but I think a lot of them probably stuck together to try and make it in the underworld,
or to at least escape.
Yeah.
Like, no, 100%. I'm with you. So very interesting for that. Ready to see what happens next. But all right, yeah. I mean, look, man, I gotta say I'm happy for Jinbei that the Giants love his skin, and you can see it on his face that like they appreciated that he was a fisherman. I bet that warmed his heart.
Yeah, they're also mad hungry for some mermaids, which good.
Yeah, they are. That shit is hilarious. But man, this chapter, I think the most intriguing thing about the chapter is that the apocalypse thing. Like that, like how many, how many apocalypses have happened? I wonder, we had the flood with Joy Boy, but I wonder if the other apocalypse is the reason why the Sky Peons, went to the moon or some shit like that.
Yeah, which does also make me question, obviously who has control over some of this. Like, obviously, it's like the cleansing and the apocalypse one for one, like, or there have been more cleansings, but not all of them have been apocalypse level.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also I don't know, like I think a big part of it that you have to come into question with whenever it comes to like well, first of all, I think a lot of people called it, but I'm going to give ourselves a little bit of credit and also myself a little bit more credit. Yeah, last arc was dealing a lot with like Joy Boy and like his promise and everything and his proclamations.
Oh
And
yeah,
like
we
we said,
called this. Yeah, you yeah,
Elbath is going to be
100%.
more about Anika and helping separate the two,
Yep. And to show that like they're not all one and the same, which we knew. Luffy confirmed that again this chapter, but to show that these people, I don't want to say they're like avatars, but like they're each their own person, but when they come, there's a task at hand. It's like Joy Boy had something he had to do. Nika had something he had to do. Yeah, we definitely said Elbaf, and you started that, but yeah, no, 100%.
Yeah, the gum gum fruit only allows themselves to be eaten whenever like it thinks the world needs a Nika, Whereas other zone fruits that do have a little bit of oil, although I'm sure not as strong as the gum gum fruit, they probably want to just constantly be active all the time because being stuck in a fruit probably is boring as hell.
Probably so. And like honestly, the fact that it's the most freest fruit, shows why it can just roam around free until it finds someone that matches what it wants. That's crazy in itself. So
yeah, I'm very
this was all
curious
very
about.
interesting.
I'm very curious how this is going to be when they do finally see a Gear 5 Luffy. Because I mean, obviously some of the giants, are Luffy's homeboys, and I think they like him because they could already tell he was Nika-ish, and I'm sure that they'll still like him no matter what. But I do wonder if some of these giants, because they do operate in certain ways, if they're going to try and hoist a role onto Luffy. And that might be like the boiling point. I don't think Luffy would necessarily start a fight about it. I think that'll be one of many factors that eventually is going to make Luffy be like, I had an idea what Elbath was. You guys ruined it, and I'm upset. And I'm starting to maybe understand why Loki feels the way he does.
I mean, look, that could be possible because you could see it starting to brew when they start to fight, just like the different interpretations of what it is, and the fact that he said, "I don't have nothing to do with this," and you could see King Jarl's face, but like no one else heard that, so like he knows this is gonna cause some problems.
Mm.
And also, I think it's very interesting that their religious text is the Harley, and like there's multiple interpretations of it, a la the Quran, the Bible. That how we always have these different interpretations of our religious text. I thought that was very
Mhm.
interesting.
Yeah, I totally agree. I do like obviously, Luffy kind of asking about Loki and he says, so is he cool? And
And they're like, "Fuck no," and he's like, being like, "What'd he do? What'd he do?" And then Loki having a Odin-esque backstory.
yeah, he's
Look,
like an Odin who didn't get his wife.
Look, man, Oda kind of using it back to back. I ain't mad at it,
No,
but it's very interesting that Loki has this sort of trope as well, and I'm wondering if if he might be all right. This is Lynn's theory. I'm pushing it ahead. Maybe we thought we were getting the wrong Odin version. Maybe we thought we were getting Yamato, but we need a true Odin on the crew. Is this Loki for Straw Hat? Is this coming?
not if that fucker can't shrink. But no, I think we're fine. But I don't know. I think he'll be very good. And I don't know if him and his brother can reconcile. The Straw Hat Grand Fleet is going to go like up big
OP.
time numbers wise.
And look, the fact and when you said it, when the Giants see him, that already like is gonna make it that they're gonna want to fight with him. Well, though
Mm.
some of them, because they're pacifists today in these times.
I also think it's interesting. Obviously, you can compare him to Odin, and I think that's pretty accurate. But I think you can also kind of compare him a little bit to like almost like a Momonosuke a little bit, because like I feel like King Harald, although we can get into him a little bit more, I think he was almost kind of like his own figure because he was a massive changing figure, for his country. And it just so happens that Loki is more of a throwback. Like he probably would have done really well if it weren't for the fact that he was kind of flying in the face of a lot what his dad was doing. you know.
Mm,
Whereas Momo, on the other hand, he's living up to, yes, a great and powerful ruler, but he's also living up to a ghost. You know,
true, 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 true,
like,
true.
he
That's a
was
good
living up
call.
to a larger than life story that he would have to reconcile, and no one was really going to challenge him on it. Whereas all the Vikings are like, you need to be more like your dad. You need to chill the fuck out. We're
Yeah,
getting tired of it.
he's like this
You know.
fusion of them, man. That's very interesting. See, I did not see the Momo thing, but you're absolutely right. It's very interesting, man. This Loki character gets more and more interesting, and I think the way he ended, and I know Kingdom fans have been saying this, but he reminds them of a Kingdom character, but just this character that seems evil, but because he has so much anger to the world, he's like this anti-hero. He's not necessarily evil, but like,
Mhm.
he's not necessarily good. He has anger towards the system.
Mhm. And now that we're kind of talking about it, I guess, like, let's talk a little bit, I think, about King Harold. What's your take on him? Because I'm kind of seeing some patterns I'm recognizing.
Um, I thought it was interesting they didn't show him. I think that was purposefully done. Um, I don't know. Tell me what you think. I didn't think about Harold a lot in this chapter. I was
Do
thinking more
you
so about
think,
the apocalypse in Loki in this chapter.
well, part of the reason I'm bringing it up is because, like, do you think he is like almost a CIA backed regime? Because
Mm.
he wanted to expand the world and he wanted to be more open, but he also has made the Giants a little bit less of a worry race, which all of that is fine and dandy. But keep in mind, we did like make a connection between Loki and Big Mom a little
That
bit.
I just when you said it,
And
I was like, damn.
he took the idea from Miss Carmel, you know.
I was about to say, yeah, he let her in, like he let her set up shop and do all that shit. Yo, he might be a government implant, which is why they're probably back to get him to be a holy knight, get
Mhm.
Loki because they need someone inside there that'll listen to him. That's very that yo. What if he was okay? Do you think he was just backed, or are we gonna go as far as to say he was a holy knight?
I don't think he was a holy knight. I think this was them trying to like soften a little bit. Like maybe the royal family or something knows something that the rest of them don't. Or maybe it was tied to the fact that Loki ate the devil fruit and he didn't want to kill his own son to get it back out.
Mm.
Maybe he thought that for a more stabilizing force or whatever, he would start like, unlike Wano, which managed to completely isolate itself away from, from the world
They
government
won't
up
let the
until the
Giants
point
leave.
until
Yeah.
Orochi come in. Yeah, whereas here he's like, okay, we're at an uneasy standstill. I don't have a true successor right now because unfortunately Loki is not up to snuff. And I don't know, maybe he just like doesn't think that Hardin got it in him,
I feel like Hyradine doesn't know shit if this is the case.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like he's like a little bit too absorbed in his personal thing that he hasn't really
Mm-hmm.
quite noticed some things happening on the larger scale of it. Keep in mind also, we don't know where the woolly like snail is talking from, but like it seems like the only one who currently on the island has a lot of outgoing talk possibly with the
Is
outside world.
Jarl?
Funny enough, no, funny enough is Loki who can't
Oh
go
yeah.
anywhere.
Yeah, true,
He's
true,
the
true.
most trapped of them all, but he has like a possible messenger to the outside. And
Do you
that
think Jarl knows what you're talking about?
I mean, it's hard to know what he knows and what he doesn't because of the sword, which so far has been played as a joke, but I
Mm-hmm.
think will become important later.
Oh, like he
Like it
lost some
might,
of his memory?
yeah, and maybe once we get it out, it'll almost be like a Big Mom hitting her head thing where he's like, "Oh, I remember why the sword's in my fucking head now."
Mm.
You know. But yeah, I mean, also I think it's possibly a case of like Gennaro just wants to keep the peace, and he's old. He knows he's past his prime. I think he might have suspicions, but what can he do about it? And the current crop of giants is not the fighters they used to be either.
No, they're not. And you
Like
know,
they're individually very powerful, but like if the One Piece government came in right now,
they would
you
win.
know,
I think they
I
could
mean
win.
it would take a long time, but yeah, I mean the four admirals, I think they could handle it, you know.
And then look, I think this is so interesting because I actually think you're right. And I think, funny enough, you remember the prediction we made where we were like, oh, we're gonna have the America when Japan opens up, we're gonna have the America come in. But it didn't happen because Momo didn't do it, and Momo was smart. He didn't let it happen. What if that is this? Like, what if that's this arc where, oh,
Mhm.
we thought their isolationist in a sense where they're not letting them out. What if, like you said, they let the world government in, a la Japan and America? That'd be a very interesting flip on it because we thought that was gonna come. What if it's coming now? That would be
A-
crazy.
And we also have to keep in mind, and we can like kind of transition a little bit to the back part of the chapter now. Loki was given the option to be freed
Yeah, he was.
and even become the top of the God Knights because, Mr. Moonman himself, he moved up, so someone has to take his spot.
Mm-hmm.
And he was given that on a silver platter, the same deal they just got with York to be the super scientist. And he literally was like, why the fuck would I want to do that?
Yeah. Why would I want to
Like,
be with
why would I want
y'all?
to be a scumbag?
Yep. 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 That's
So
crazy, man.
because up until now, I think a lot of people have pretty correctly assumed that Loki will do anything to get free, and then he doesn't have either an ideology or morals, but evidently he does. And I think there's a reason and a backstory behind that, you know?
And then look, the crazy thing is, which Banks said, "Where's the intel from?" And she goes, "The agents dispatched to Elbaf sent one last transmission that giant crow had appeared not since then. We don't have any dirt on him, but now that I hear him for myself, he's insolent, and we should erase him." Dirt. They probably had dirt on Harold and used that to
Mhm.
to get under to make him betray Elbaf type shit.
Yeah, which is again obviously very CIA type shit or whatever. And then
Mm-hmm.
sometimes you do see this like either whenever a revolution happens or whenever like
New leaders are
like
coming in.
a new
Yeah.
leader, even if they were tied to the regime comes in, they're like, no, actually.
We
Because keep
see
in
that with
mind,
America.
like,
Yet they pick like when there's something going on, there's a transition of power, and the people in charge of that's the next in line don't agree with what America says. America picks someone to take over, and they just do.
yeah, which I mean, Elbath obviously has the giants, but we also keep in mind the atom wood isn't anything to sneeze at either.
Yeah,
Like
true.
the world's largest supply of atom wood, just like Wano has a ton of sea stone and people who can actually work it.
Yeah,
If
they
they can
can't
get
lose
both of
that.
those,
Mm-hmm.
like, devil fruits are nice and all, but if you can in fact outfit the entirety of the Marines with atom wood ships and sea stone like bullets and weapons or whatever, like that's a defining like way to like tip the balance of power, especially since the current Yonko, minus Shanks granted, are fueled a lot by their devil fruit powers.
Oh,
You know,
also, I think this is 100% Banks now. Did you see every time they showed him, Oda did not let us see the side of his face with the scar?
I mean,
He
yeah,
he had the bubble cover it up, bro. The bubble cover that to me is
that's
wild.
dedication.
like, I'm looking at it right now. I'm like, damn, the fucking bubble's covering it up.
Mhm.
Look, Banks, man. What do you? I'm very interested in Banks, but we don't need to talk about him right now. Gunko, did you like what you saw from Gunko? Our first Holy Night appearance. I think her mummy stuff is very cool. She did hang that wolf, which was not cool in my book. I'm a dog person these days, but look, Gunko looks very interesting to me, especially the two different eyes. Like,
We give
what's
her
going on?
we give her shorts. Can we get?
Oh.
I guess hose never get cold. She's in the middle of a blizzard and she's wearing like a bikini bottom. But I'm actually exceedingly very interested in Gunko though. I've liked her vibe the whole time, even before it turns out she was also kind of hot with it. Like I don't know, it's nice to see a woman in One Piece get to be cold and merciless and like down to business, just like about that action at the sledge drop of a hat. You know? Because I think
Hmm.
a lot of people thought Banks, Shanks, whoever this guy is, that he was going to be like the muscle. And I'm not saying he still isn't. I'm sure he's extremely powerful, but
Yeah,
he's not the
some.
one who's willing to use his powers immediately, you know?
Yeah, he can't. He
Like I
got to keep it low
appreciate it.
key. Like
Yeah.
Gunko has to be the main force because like he knows that if he's not Shanks, if this is truly Banks, Banks can't show what he can do right away because then people will know and be like, "Oh, what was this?" And they'll find out the secret that Shanks has a twin. Like
Mhm.
he got to be so low key. He has to like these. It's funny that we got CP0 and CP9 because this is the real CIA. Like these are the real people.
Mhm.
Move like Rob Lucci lets himself get seen. Like you know what I'm saying? Like people see CP agents. People aren't supposed to see these guys.
Well, yeah, like CP9 was built up to a thing, and now it turns out, oh, they're
They're the
like an
FBI.
espionage. They might as well be like an espionage portion of like the government or whatever. And then when you go to CP0, it's like, oh, these guys are like they might as well just be like CIA or whatever. This is some weird like
Deep state,
private
bro.
military, like all the richest, oldest families got together and have like super spies that act with impunity and they don't really recognize a single nation's borders. They are like they're top level or whatever and are probably like I don't know. I'll give them this. I wasn't hot on God Knights and I'm still kind of whatever about him. Oda is doing a good job of slow walking them into being more interesting
Yeah,
and feeling like it's possible they always existed and weren't just added in
last minute.
later.
It
You
look,
know?
especially if he pulls off what you're saying about the Herald story, and these are the ones who had to set it up. And what if Mother Carmel was? I mean, I don't know if she'd be a God Knight, but the person she might have talked to could have been.
Yeah, like her actual overseer or whatever.
Because we never
And
saw
maybe
that
yeah.
person.
And it also ties into because she was tied to the underworld, just like Doflamingo was and everything. I wonder how much like the CIA in real life, is just straight up like, oh yeah, we just straight up traffic drugs or
Yeah,
whatever.
and look, it's also to your point about Dofi. Dofi's a former celestial dragon. Like, it just
Mm.
these guys are running it. Who could Dofi have contact? Maybe Dofi had contacts with these people.
Yeah,
Dofi
because
knows what the
they
true treasure is. He mentioned that before. He knew about them. That's why they put him in Impel Down.
yeah, like that's part of the reason why they kind of let him do his own narco state thing. In
Mm-hmm.
part because they were like, well, yeah, we could bring him down, but if he spills the beans real quick or whatever in front of a transmission
We're
snail, like it's kind
fucked.
of over, you
Yeah,
know? Like, so they kind of let him
exactly.
do his own Operation Paperclip or whatever in Dressrosa. But yeah, and I don't know. It's like for all we know, he like part of the reason why Dofi acts the way he does is because he read some like God Night manuals or whatever whenever he was a kid and was like, oh, so this is how you set up a narco state in a foreign
Shit,
country.
what if he was supposed to be one? Like we don't know the choosing of that, which is why he was so pissed that and yo to get even deeper. What if that's why Homing left? Like Homing said, "Oh, it's because I didn't like how it was changing us." What if Dofi was supposed to be a god knight and he didn't want that for his kid?
Yeah, maybe he was like, nah, my son, I want my son to have a gentle life. And it turns out, nah, man, literally what Gunko's doing to this wolf is exactly what your son would have done with his fruit.
Facts, facts. He'd have probably been worse. That's crazy, bro. I hope this is true because if that's why Dofi's dad did what he did and why all this is happening, that Oda would be a genius, bro. Genius. That would be crazy shit. But regardless, look, man, Loki, I think Loki's gonna end up being a good guy. Worst case scenario, anti-hero.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't know if he would necessarily be a good guy like how we define some truly heroic people in One Piece. But yeah, one thing that I can say is he does not fucks with the government, and that means he's good for me.
He's not
Like,
gonna be the one Luffy fights. I don't see that happening.
yeah, he's not an Orochi type figure, which
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of glad that we said it now, but I kind of want to ask. Like we've literally had tons of foreshadowing saying the longer we stay on this island, the more things are going to flip around and get kind of weird. Do you think Hardin might be willing to take the deal?
Oh shit.
I mean,
That
I don't know if he betrayed Luffy because he does love Luffy,
yeah, I
but like as a son of like Harold, if he
I'll say
thought it would
this.
secure a place for the Giants, you
I
know,
think he gets a choice. I definitely think he'll get the choice. Now, and depending on his answer, which I can see him in this being a redemption of him and Loki, and then the Giants being the first official side on, the revolutionary and thing side. I could see him getting the choice and turning it down. I don't know if I could see him taking it yet, as of
I
what
hope
we've seen from Hyrule, but I could definitely 100% see him getting the choice. And I think you're onto something because, to your point, this is the first kingdom we've come to where there is no Orochi figure. There's no one like that. And every time we've gone to like some place, it's either been, and if there wasn't, there was someone behind the strings pulling it. Crocodile,
Mhm.
Doflamingo, now, which we're assuming the God Knights.
Yeah, I mean, like Loki could be that, but like no one really respects or likes him. He doesn't have any more followers except for some people in the underworld, which maybe there's more of those we haven't seen yet. But like he
And they
hangs
chained
out
him
with
up.
big beasts and wolves, exactly, and he can't go anywhere. And
Mm-hmm.
if he went somewhere, everyone would know where he went because he's not exactly
Mm-hmm.
hard to miss. But yeah, like I'm very interested to see how it goes. Like the others are bringing up, and I don't mean to judge Harding. I'm just curious about how that's gonna go. Um, I mean, I'll be honest with you, it's possible Harding doesn't make it out of this arc to give more fuel for Loki,
Look, that is possible, and he's the one that takes over for Hyrodine, and the one that becomes the that guy. He's
Kind of how people thought Black Panther 2 should have ended by bringing
mm,
back Killmonger, since rest in peace we lost, T'Challa.
they should have recast his ass. Don't even that's a conversation for another day.
All
But
right, fair enough.
but
Hey, but how
yeah,
you liking
no.
that storm though?
Oh, from that chapter, that was pretty
Mm,
tight. But I'm a DC guy. Shout out to the Absolute Universe, kicking ass, kicking ass. But
I liked Creature Commandos. But
hey,
anyway,
the movie, the TV show was pretty good. I'm excited for what's to come. But yeah, no
which,
man.
funny enough, actually is related to this because they also have CIA plots. And guess what? I was rooting for them to kill that fucking princess the whole time because I knew that it was going to be a thing. Also, should have just killed her anyway. But yeah, so I kept that on my chest the whole time, even when people started doubting. And the next thing you know, guess what? We did it, boys.
Yeah.
We got the big W.
Yeah, she had to get out of there. Man, this is crazy. And I'm really starting to think you're 100% right, because I'm looking back at every arc. When there's not someone like evil that we don't fuck with, it's always someone pulling the strings. Always, bro. And Oda does
But
that constantly.
we still got that one guy, but he's a perfect enigma.
Yeah, I don't
Like
know. I don't think that
like,
guy's
is he an
bad.
informant? Is he an God Knight? Is he the guy who put it in our dear sweet beautiful giant teacher? Like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. What's his whole like I need to know what his deal is.
Yeah,
Like
no, I agree.
I'm also but I am curious though. Like I wonder if this whole thing's gonna get wrapped up a little bit quicker because like this was kind of early to show Luffy the Shanks clone, right?
It does. I don't think he's gonna make it there in time. I mean,
I have
I
no
don't
clue.
know. Yeah, I've not, like this is interesting, man. This is very, very interesting. All right, I'm gonna say this: if he meets him early, then I think real Shanks is coming too. I think real Shanks is coming. Like if
Do
he,
you think he has time to spin the block like that?
I mean, look, bro, I didn't think we were gonna meet Banks until like midway in type shit. It seems like we might meet Banks next week.
Yeah, I really don't know where we're going with this. I'm just very excited.
Yeah, this is
Good first chapter to start off the year.
this is the first time in a minute where I can say, like, we have no true indication of where we're going. Like in Wano, we did because it was a war. We knew where the battle was taking us. Egghead, we didn't, but like once they brought
The
in the
murder
world
mystery
government,
type thing.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. We kind of knew where we were. This, I have no idea where this is going. We
Mhm.
have our theory, but like this would go any numerous directions. But I do
Yeah.
think you're right. Everything was purposeful, and I think the reason why he put Lin Lin in said her name in this chapter was to remind us that about just like, hey, Mother Carmel, all of this, that shit. I do think you're right.
Mm. So yeah, I don't know. I guess we'll see. I also kind of wonder, like, because yeah, like Gunko's kind of temperamental or whatever, but it's like, but is she actually gonna try and kill Loki for this? I doubt. and I kind of wonder if she could, you
Mm-hmm.
know. But at the same time, it is just Mercy killing a chained up man. So
Yeah.
what can you do?
And what if, and you know, what'd be even crazier? What if he breaks out? Like, not saying he can, but like, what if that's a thing? Like, oh, she goes to try to kill him, and he was like, "Bro, I was just sitting here. Like, I
Mm.
wasn't trying to move, but now I will."
Oh, one last thing. There is also a subtle confirmation that, if not the whole reason, but a large part of the reason why Shanks became Yonko was helping subdue Loki,
Yeah,
which does make one wonder if it's an alliance or even if like Elbaf is standing under Shanks' flag. I think alliance, and I think also just everything else about Shanks probably helped, but this might be his defining, like his big moment where people
his
were
feet.
like, okay, he's not just an up and comer, he is Yonko status.
Yeah, he stopped the strongest giant type shit. Hey man, look, I always knew my guy Shanks was a real one. That's probably why Banks had to pull up. See what his brother's strength really is, man.
I'm really curious about what the flashback for that's gonna look like. I hope we get it.
Do you think? I mean, look, man, I can see his. If not a Shanks backstory, we got to get a Banks. We got to get someone,
Yeah,
one of them, one of them.
we might do, because we draw parallels to Odin and Momonosuke and everything. We might get a Loki backstory where, much how like Odin gave us a backstory for Roger a little bit for some of that,
This is
and for
Shanks.
Whitebeard, we might see it through Loki, and then we'll get a little bit more Lyn, which I'd love
Mm-hmm.
because that's necessary, I think, and we get more Shanks.
Yeah, like this is this generation's backstory. How the last one was
Mhm.
the last generation's. Yeah, it makes
Yeah, yeah.
sense. That makes sense. Is there a Nika backstory coming this chapter? That's my final question I got for
I
you.
think there's a Nika
I'm
legend. I think it'll be ambiguous whether or not that's going to be a true backstory. I know that's
gotcha.
playing a little bit safe, but I don't know who's around who could be like verified 100% backstory, you know?
Mm-hmm. Do you think it's the random homie roaming the roamer?
No, that's what I'm saying. I don't know if we have one because I mean that's so far in the past. I don't
Oh no
think
no
we'll get
oh,
one.
okay, so I guess that leads to what I think the who I think the roamer is. What if the roamer stopper? Do we get it? Being that he went to the inn, he knows the true story.
Yeah, we might get it.
Okay, I'm just trying to see
I don't
ways,
know
but
when
you're right.
else
It
they.
is
I
pretty
don't
far
know
back.
when else. I don't know what. Well, I don't know when else we get it outside. Maybe Laughed. Like not Laughed. Lodestar
And
was the
maybe
only
the
one. Yeah.
Nika story isn't necessary. Maybe the Joy Boy is more necessary. Maybe this is all we get from learning about Nika. I don't know.
I I'm for sure. I think the second that he goes Gear 5 and a giant sees him, they are going to, whether he wants to or not, they're going to drag him in front of a big giant sarcophagus or some shit or a temple, and Luffy is going to pretend to listen, but the rest of the crew will hopefully be there, at least a couple people, ideally
Mm-hmm.
Robin,
Hopefully.
and they'll know the backstory, even if Luffy he kind of doesn't really care.
Yeah. So interesting, man. Got to give Otis props. This is great. All right, Versen, tell the
Mm.
people where they can follow you at on social media.
You can follow me at Versen and Lyn pretty much anywhere, or Josh Fresca pretty much anywhere. As of the time recording, TikTok's back, so that's cool. But I'm also on Red Note now, where you can also find me there.
Yeah,
And
I don't know if I'm supporting TikTok because I think it's owned by Meta these days, and or Trump made a deal. It's
mm,
just shady, man. It's all
I know.
shady,
Yeah.
and you know it was straight out of the playbook of the little mustache man. Everybody, like if you know about this is straight out of that playbook. So like I don't know, but hey,
Yeah, we'll
shout
see.
out to Red Note. I'm out there. Ni hao to all my Chinese homies. I know y'all listening to the pod. I done got over 50 something followers in like 3 days. I've been putting Chinese captions. They rocking with me. We're growing. Shout out to Red Note. Y'all can follow me at LynBWT everywhere. I'm LynBWT there. Shout out to everybody on the Red
And
Note.
you can also catch me in Corpus Christi at the People's Assembly. We're going to be talking about Palestine. A ceasefire has been reached, although it's not the cleanest ceasefire, and we'll talk more about it
Didn't it take
because the thing
3
about
hours like to even start? Like, wasn't there a problem with it starting? I think I saw that somewhere.
there was they were playing a little funny with it, and also we have to keep in mind Israel was bombing the Palestinians the entire time leading up to it. Like in the time between it being announced and it being implemented, I want to say like 20 people died at least.
Jesus.
But we're going to be talking more about that because people again have to understand what's happening in Palestine does affect us in America, and also this happened before October 7th. This is just bringing it back to the normal, and we're not free until all of us are free. Free Palestine and free America.
Facts. I'm with him on all of that. All right, y'all make sure y'all follow Versen. Y'all know where y'all can follow me at. Make sure you check out all of our content. Until next time, y'all have a good one and peace.